introducing Tim McCarthy, author of Raising Four-Dimensional Children in Two-Dimensional World, a parenting book offering a unique understanding of child development and practical activities for growth. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tim.
Thank you for inviting me. Happy to be here.
So what inspired you to write Raising Four-Dimensional Children in Two-Dimensional World?
I am, in addition to being a lifelong educator, I am a martial artist. And part of my martial arts studies was not only do you develop physical skills, but you have to develop mentally, emotionally for confidence, and spiritually to know the difference between right and wrong. And so, in addition to teaching, I had the fortune to work for a company that advised other martial arts schools. And so in the US and Canada especially, you'll see signs all over the place that say after school martial arts program or summer camp programs. And we helped popularize those. And I took my educational background to help develop them. And now that I'm retired, I wanted to bring that knowledge to the average parent and make it readily available to them.
Got it. So can you explain what you mean by the 4 dimensions of human potential and why they are important in child development?
Yes. And again, back to the martial arts. Dimensions, you want to develop physically, you want a strong body. Mentally, you want to be intelligent. Emotionally, you want to be confident and happy. And spiritually, you want to know the difference between right and wrong. And so I believe parents need to take into account all 4 dimensions to raise their children in a balanced way.
Got it. So what makes your book different from other parenting books on the market?
Well, first of all, that view, a lot of people don't understand that there are 4 dimensions to raising children. And if you don't understand it, you can't really address it. But in addition to that, I give over 400 activities. So I don't just give you theory. I've researched what the brain is capable of and not capable of at each age. And then I give you activities to help your child move along and move up to the next level.
Got it. So what are some of the most common parenting misconceptions you aim to dispel in your book?
I think the most common one is you really have one choice or 2 choices. That is, you were raised by your parents. And if you were lucky like me and you loved your parents and they treated you well, you want to be like them. And if you were unlucky like many people who are abused, you want to do the opposite. And that's kind of a binary choice. And I don't think that's right. I think if you want to be a better dancer, you take dance lessons. If you want to be better at math, you go to math classes. And so what I've tried to do is distill for parents in a 300-page book the basics of everything you need to know to be a good parent based on research and based on my experience of activities to help children be better educated in each dimension.
Got it. How can parents better understand and cater to their child's emotional needs?
There are 4 steps to emotional intelligence. And so the first is knowing your emotions. And this is a problem with the terrible twos. 2-year-olds don't know what they're feeling. All of a sudden, they've got these new emotions racing through them. They don't know how to handle them. So they have these breakdowns, meltdowns, and that's the terrible twos. So first of all, you have to know your emotions, know what you're feeling. Second, be able to manage your emotions. If you get angry, how do you handle that? One of the things is count to 10. And that takes you out of the limbic brain and into the prefrontal cortex, that is, out of the emotional response of fight to the logical part of your brain. So that's managing your emotions. Then you learn to motivate yourself. If you're feeling down, how do you get back up again? If somebody hurt you, how do you recover? Recognizing emotions in others is step number 4, so that not only am I dealing with myself, but now I'm learning how to interact with you. And finally, handling relationships, which by the time we get to teenage years becomes leadership training.
That's insightful. Can you share some examples of the educational activities you offer in the book for children's growth and development?
Well, I cover some basics, things like if you ever played Simon Says, and Simon Says is a great activity to learn to inhibit response. So if somebody calls you a bad name, there's an emotional response. But if you can learn at an early age to inhibit that immediate emotional response. So that's one of everybody knows the game of Simon Says, but not everybody understands the value of it and why you should play it. If you've ever seen a 2-year-old start running and you say, no, 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 don't run into traffic. Okay. First place, his brain doesn't react that quickly. And then once he understands what you're saying, it still takes some time to understand don't run instead of stop. So a simple game that I've added in there is a game called Freeze. Okay, let's dance around the room and freeze. Okay, move again. And so you play that game, and then all of a sudden your kid's running into traffic, and you go, Bobby, Bobby, freeze. And at least you've got a chance of stopping him before he gets hit by a car.
Nice. So how can parents help their children develop spiritually in today's increasingly secular world?
Fortunately, this is why we have religion. And so if you're Christian, you go to Bible school. Jewish, you study the Torah. Hindi, you study the Vedas, whatever, the Quran. But one of the simplest things you can do is pray at night. And you say, thank you, God, for this and this and this and this, whatever happened today that was good. And tell me 3 things that happened good that we want to thank God for. Or tell me 3 people in your life you want to thank God for. Now, let's back that up. Suppose you are a scientist, a total atheist, you don't believe in religion. You still take your child and say, what are 3 things that you want to be grateful for that happened today? What are 3 people in your life you'd like to be grateful for? Oh, Aunt Sally, and how can we be grateful for her? Should we call her tomorrow? Should we ask her how she's doing? And so there's a moral aspect. If you don't accept spirituality, I hope you accept morality. And the science behind gratitude creating happiness is pretty sound. So that's something very simple you can do.
Wow, that's really nice. So how has your book been received by readers so far?
I'm sorry, how has my book been received? Very well by the readers. I've had educators say that even with their educational background and experience, there were things in there that they didn't realize. I've had a friend of mine is a motivational speaker, and he enjoyed the stories. I introduce each chapter with a story that kind of says, here's one way of parenting and here's the other, to illustrate like the 2 extremes, and hopefully you'll take one or the other or possibly something in between. So he liked those. I've had nurses read the book and make sure that it's accurate. Probably the neatest thing I've heard was I had a mother of 4 who had a degree in psychology say, well, isn't most of this common sense? And I said, yeah, you've raised 4 successful children. You have a degree in psychology. To you, it's common sense. But to the parent who's struggling and doesn't know what to do, no, it's the advice they need.
Got it. So what advice would you give to new parents who feel overwhelmed or unsure about how to raise their child?
Get my book. Very simply. I've got 40 years of experience in education, several years of experience researching not just what my parents did, but what dozens of parents did. Does this work? Does that work? How does it work? Why does the brain develop? And what I've done, if you go to my website, is you can buy the chapter for your child's age for under $1. So I'm not looking to get rich. I'm looking to get the information out there. Anybody in dire straits can afford $1 to help their family improve. So just go to my website, 4d-2d.com. Don't leave out the dash. Otherwise, you'll end up in China. And you can get the chapter for under $1.
Got it. So to end the episode, I'd like to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions. So what is your favorite parenting memory?
My father always said, tell me the truth and I'm your best ally. Lie to me and you've got 2 problems. And so we did our best to tell him the truth. And I remember one time my brother got in trouble. He was attending a Catholic school and the nuns had accused him of they said, we believe it involves insertion. And so insertion to me sounds like a sexual activity. And my father was hot. And so he grabbed my little brother and said, what's going on? And he said, what do you mean? He said, what's a wedgie? He said, a wedgie, it's when you pull the kid's underwear up in the back of their pants. Okay, and so kids have done that all, boys, I think in every culture do that. If you have underwear, you pull it up and it runs the underwear up their bottom. And so once my father knew that, he went in to talk to the nuns and gave them what for exaggerating, for not understanding the children. And in other words, he was his best ally and was on his side against the teachers because he told the truth.
God. How do you like to unwind after a long day of writing and researching?
A physical fitness guy, is part of one of the 4 dimensions. So even at my age, I still ride my bike. I go to the gym. I still practice my martial arts. So no matter what happens during the day, how stressful it is, physically work it out.
So what is the best book that you have read recently?
Recently, Anthony Robbins' Life Force. He's got some new ideas on health, new research in that direction. And so I'm constantly learning. And of course, as I get old, I'm more and more concerned with health and trying to keep what I've got and even develop some new skills if I can.
So what is your favorite hobby outside of parenting and writing?
Again, the martial arts. I mean, that's been my life for over 40 years. And it has served me well, kept me healthy, kept me happy, kept me confident, and I believe spiritually on the right path.
Got it. Last question. What is your favorite family vacation destination?
I love Cancun, just because I love the water. Bahamas would be a second close runner-up. Just going in, looking at that water is amazing. Going into it, snorkeling, it's literally another world, but it's such a beautiful world.
God. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on our podcast. It was great having you, and thank you for sharing your insights and experience.
Again, thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful to get out here and talk to your friends, your audience. I really appreciate the opportunity.